Council meetings are long and boring. Wouldn't it be great if they were short and unboring? That is why I've invented the 5. Oh, listen to the crowd. 10-minute meeting! Applause. Oh, boy, you got a problem. I need the applause light in the back here. Hey, Jim Falkenstein with the Ashland City Council meeting of August 5th, coming to you live from the Resistance Winery here in Ashland. Resistance Winery, surprisingly very popular with professional yodelers because they love the echo. They love the echo in here. So come on down. Yodelers get some percentage off, maybe. Okay, so it starts off with the mayor, and she says, the mayor right there, she goes, the Nagasaki and Hiroshima proclamation, whereas, mayors for peace, like me, also hate nuclear war. And the peace ginkgo tree in town grew from a seed taken from Hiroshima after the bomb. I didn't know that. I didn't know where that is. And there will be a vigil, 8 a.m. in Lithia Park, Wednesday the 6th. Yeah, you missed it. That was last Wednesday. And consent agenda came along. That was all approved. I looked at it. It seemed boring. I think everyone's thinking fine. And then the public forum started off with a mustachioed man, I think you might recognize. He says, I have a petition making any council vote increasing fees to require approval by citizen vote. And I'll go get 1,600 signatures, but you could just put it on the ballot if you wanted to. And then a bald cap lady came in and said, that petition mustache man just suggested is terrible, and misinformation campaigns would pop up everywhere, and council makes competent, data-driven, forward-thinking, synergistic, team-building, blah, 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 buzzword decisions perfectly. Everything is fine. And then the mayor jumps and goes, hey, no laughing in the audience. No laughing. Everyone stop laughing at that. And then a bald 5G guy said, you all know that you never voted to change the budget, even though you said you did. Liars! And then a big hat lady said, the city priorities are not consistent with citizens' priorities, and federal cuts will affect city housing, SNAP, food aid, Medicaid. Now is not the time for city raises. And then the alarm code second reading came along, and Finance Director Marion Barry, she says, just cutting stupid old codes, all approved there. And then the flood plan removal from Hamilton Creek, the second reading, that was all approved, boring. And then, this one, there she is again. She goes, okay, here we go, meat of the meeting. Here are 3 union contracts and 1 resolution for non-union pay increases. And this guy starts right in and goes, hey, I move we split the 3 union contracts from the non-union resolution. That was all approved. And then the HR director, Molly Taylor, I think her name is, she says, here are lots of stats and comparables with other cities. And park employees might unionize. And this guy goes, oh, wait, if we cut a deal with these non-unions and then they unionize, can they just renegotiate up again? And city attorney Johan Patia, he says, if we as a city try to imagine and prepare for a hypothetical union or non-union, that can get us into legal trouble, seen as influencing unionized workers. And then this guy, new guy, he says, how long till the next 2 unions bring their comps to negotiate? And city attorney Sabrina Cotta, she goes 2 months. And this guy goes, hey, he goes, we budgeted for 2% increases for everybody for the next 2 years. So where did these new increases come from? City manager Sabrina Cotta said, well, when we got this new comp and class study 2 months ago, it magically showed us that non-union employees sometimes make more money in other cities. And even though every city situation is different, we decided to pay everybody up to the next level. Why not? And then this guy goes, oh, that's so great. What else aside from these raises are we doing for these great city workers? And the HR lady says, she goes, oh, well, there's more personal days, there's step increases, and Christmas Eve off, some other stuff. And then, the public forum, a lady in purple said fees and budgets were supposed to cover expenses. Those are lies. Yes to union contracts and no to non-union contract. Their pay is actually pretty good. Put their next raise proposal on the next budget discussion. And then a large man in glasses said spending $170,000 on the comp and class study is a waste. I just did it with AI on my phone right here at the meeting. Your priorities are misguided. Show us respect. And then sunglasses on the head lady said, it is not appropriate to give raises to management at this time. And a bald cap lady said, these aren't pay increases, they're investments in high quality workers. will city workers now be my friend, please? And then the mustachioed man said, everybody loves staff, but paying them more isn't the solution to the city's problems and not the only reason staff stays or doesn't. It's rude to the citizens who don't get COLAs and comp and class studies to priority staff over citizens. And then they start with the first vote of these three three union contracts. And the electrical union contract passed 4-2. And so these two were like, no, thank you very much. They were both no's. And then this was an interesting one. So he just stuck around and said, okay, let me just be clear. I am voting no on all these budget contracts because I am against short-term fixes. But staff is great, and anyone saying that city employees care more about their paychecks than citizen fees is just mean, and I'll fight them. Even if it's true? Okay, all right, okay. And so then they voted on the 3-year clerical union contract, and that passed 4-2. These two were like, no. They were like, no. And then the 3-year on the labor union contract, 4-2, no. And then it went to the non-union resolution, and this mayor, she goes, and then she brain farted for like 60 full seconds, and it looked like she was just smelling burnt toast. And then she snapped awake and said, let's take a 5-minute meeting, or break, 5-minute break, and then they broke. And then they came back from the break, and she goes, okay, so if we delay, what would be the implications? And the HR lady said, some interest payments we might owe. And then the city manager, Sabrina Cotta, said, well, figuring things out retroactively would be hard because of, math. And I would get my pay raised later, so it's pretty serious. And then this guy goes, can't we just leave some jobs paid as is? And city attorney Johan Payatella says, if we go through one by one, people can start suing. And then this guy says, would we be liable for not giving non-union raises while we debate this? And the city attorney goes, we're not legally liable. They're non-union. What can they do? I think true. Sad but true. And then this guy goes, hey, I moved to pass this non-union pay raise. I have no other ideas. And then this guy says, we need to pay everybody. We need to. And then this guy says, this new guy says, I strongly support this. I drank the city Kool-Aid on day one. He did. And then this guy says, there are still questions about future outstanding contracts. I'm voting no. We need more compromise. And this one, of course, is, she says, we need to focus on the people who live here, and I'm not supporting this. And then this one says, Ashland is just as complicated as Portland and Seattle. The comp and class study showed that we are falling behind, and we want steady hands at the wheel. So our supervisors and department heads need more money, and these aren't raises, they're just cost of living increases. So that sounds like a trickle-down workonomics theory right there. So if we pay the department heads more, this will keep the workers from slacking off. A equals B, duh. And then the vote came down 3-3. So these three, Bing, I'm calling them heroes. These three say no, right? The other three, vote yes. And what does she do? She breaks the tie and says, yes, let's vote for all the raises. So it passes. And so SOU is cutting $10 million in their budget. ODOT is laying off 10%. RVTD is reducing services by 60%. But raises all around for Ashland, okay? Why tighten your belt when you can just buy a bigger belt, right? So this guy goes, I move to adjourn right now. And they voted along party lines again for counting her to 3. No, we're not adjourning early. And then so we're gonna have a city manager's report. We're gonna have it. And so then the city manager shows up. Sabrina Kashi goes, we're pushing out grant funding for childcare, the money that I tried to kill during the budget process, by the way. People should sign up for Jackson Alerts. Then the cooling shelter is in a place at some church. I didn't remember that what it was. And this guy goes, Parks is bringing up the East Main Park at some meeting coming up. And then this one goes, okay, now we can adjourn, Dylan. Power move, Dylan. Gavel drop, Dylan. End of meeting. You're welcome. Nailed it.